Let's go straight to Tony Smith, my next guest. He's the former head of UK Border Force, big friend of the show, and joins us right now to talk about, well, this horrific spate of migrant assaults and crimes that we've now become horribly aware of, four in just the last few days that have hit the front page headlines. Tony Smith, thank you for joining us.
It's always a pleasure, Julia.
I wish the topic we were talking about was a pleasure. I'd love one day you come on air. I'd probably have to leave my job. What else would we talk about? And I said, Tony, isn't this amazing? We've got no more boats coming in, no more migrants, got no illegal arrivals committing crime, and they've all been sent home. And what a great day. Wouldn't that be a wonderful interview to do?
Yeah, and if I got back my old job, Julia, I'd hire you as my communications secretary to tell the great British public about all the successes.
It would be a joy. It would be a joy.
About all the failures that we talk about every week.
Well, I'm just going to go through really quickly. Afghan refugee charged and remanded in custody with the triple stabbing in Uxbridge. The dog walker, Wayne Broadhurst, he's left dead. Another man, his 14-year-old son, stabbed as well. Yesterday, Somali failed asylum seeker jailed for a minimum of 25 years for stabbing a father of three to death in a bank in a random attack. On Friday, we had the Channel migrant found guilty of the unprovoked murder of Rhiannon White, a mother who worked at his asylum hotel. And on Friday, of course, we had the Epping migrant sex attacker accidentally freed, manhunt for 2 days, deported. And now we find out, what a joy, that we, with our hard-earned money, have paid that man, Hadish Gabati, 500 quid to leave the country. What do you make of all those stories?
Well, firstly, I'm glad that this is all coming in the public domain. That's really important because, in my experience, this has been happening for a long time now. Julia, we've had criminals coming into this country illegally and perpetrating crimes, and it hasn't received this degree of media attention that it is now. But I would say I have detected a significant increase in serious crimes being perpetrated by illegal entrants, not just boat arrivals, but lorry arrivals, even people that have come in and claimed asylum by other means and are in the immigration system and go on to perpetrate
And you
crimes.
think it's actually, there is, as far as you're aware, it's not just that we're talking about them more, they're on the front page of the newspapers, it's that there are actually more of these crimes.
I am very close to my former colleagues in the Border Force, and they will tell you, if they were allowed to, that yes, we are now getting alerts from the police constantly about people that have been arrested, who are in the immigration system, usually as illegal and asylum seekers, who are committing serious crimes.
And is that because we've got more of those people and it's grown commensurately, or are we getting a different kind of illegal migrant arrival, not just someone who, admittedly here illegal, we don't want them either, but an economic migrant who wants a better life and to get here and then bring it's usually a man, bring his family over, but otherwise does just want to make a new life, as opposed to people who are dangerous criminals arriving here?
There are more dangerous criminals arriving here, I'm afraid, Julia. I wouldn't say all of them are. Of course they're not. Yeah. There are more amongst them than I've ever known in the past, and that is evidenced by the number of cases of people that are being arrested for various serious offences after they get here. So we've got a real problem on our hands here with criminals entering our country illegally. We don't have time to properly screen and vet them. We can't detain them because they claim asylum, and they are being released into communities and perpetrating crime, serious crime. A real problem for us, Julia. We really need to do something.
And I mean, it's bad enough having a huge number of young men arriving and putting in asylum hotels or local housing, just down the road from a secondary school or a primary school, who apparently have attitudes towards women, which, I mean, I'm sorry, they're medieval. That's what they are from large parts of the world, where they just consider, well, she's out, she's a girl and she's out, she's not covered up and she's not with a man, therefore she's fair game. I mean, that is a big enough issue, and the sex assaults we've seen on women and girls. But even more worrying, and I'm afraid it is more worrying, is these random murders. I mean, just literally, I'm angry I didn't get my asylum claim through. I'm going to just kill a random father of three in a bank and then just walk away as if nothing has happened. This is terrifying.
Yes, it is terrifying. And as you say, these are not just offences against women and girls. These are serious crimes. We're seeing murders, stabbings regularly now. And increasingly, these offences are being perpetrated by people who are not lawfully in this country. They are entitled to be here on bail, on immigration bail, but they are stuck in this interminable legal system that we've created where it's possible to come to our shores, claim asylum, get bail and stay here, well, for a very, very long time while we go through this process, considering your application, potentially granting it 60% of the time, and even those that we refuse, rarely removing them because they go to an immigration tribunal who will usually find a reason why they should be allowed to stay on grounds of human rights. So we've really got to tackle our laws and make sure that we can detain people on arrival if they haven't got documents and remove them from the territory as illegal entrants and not offer them all these forms of protection because it is harming our community.
Come back to the removals, because we're constantly told we can't. I mean, Nigel Farage, the Reform leader in Parliament, moved a 10-minute rule motion yesterday about, we should leave the European Convention on Human Rights. We could have a vote on that. This is Stopping Us Act. Germany's in the European Convention on Human Rights. They seem to be able to get rid of people. Why can we not remove these people? Is it a lack of deals? Is it because of Brexit, as we're told? Why not?
It's nothing to do with Brexit, I can tell you that. It's to do with the fact that primarily our legal framework is very, very generous to the migrant. It enables you to make an application for asylum, human rights, modern slavery, simultaneously or consequentially, as you wish.
Right.
You can get a lawyer which will take you into a process with a 54-week gap delay now in MOJ, in immigration tribunals. So basically, we've got an interminable process that allows people to stay here, and we can only detain people, Julia, if there is a realistic prospect of removal. We have got the power to detain, but if there is no realistic prospect of removal, an immigration judge will grant bail, and it will usually be for a very, very long time.
And that was the issue we had when we did have detention camps but actually, the human rights lawyer said, the conditions aren't, they're not a 4-star hotel, so they'll have to be released. But also, these people can't, this is supposed to be held for a few days or a few weeks. They can't be held here for months or years, and it's taking years, so they have to go. You also mentioned, and in passing, and this is something that is often mentioned by those who campaign on behalf of these people's right to be here, that, the majority of these people do end up getting granted asylum and the right to stay, and we know, one of those key cases, the Afghan refugee who has been charged, obviously he was entitled to a fair trial over the triple stabbing in Uxbridge that left Wayne Broadhurst dead, that he arrived in a lorry in 2020, we understand from the authorities, was granted asylum in 2022, so he did have the right to stay. When these people are granted, should we therefore assume that they are genuine asylum seekers, or, as you've explained before, but for people who've not heard your explanations, what else is actually going on when these people are granted the right to stay?
So I think the critical point is where they've come from, Julia. And if you look at refugee policy, generally speaking, if there were an invasion or a war or some major event in Europe, you would normally flee to the next available country. That's where you would go to. That's where UNHCR camps are. That's what you would expect.
Syrians in Turkey, etc., etc.
Yeah, and there are very good people working in UNHCR camps looking after those people who are genuine refugees. But what's happened is that people are crossing multiple borders to a destination of choice, quite often the UK, and they are not in immediate fear of persecution, are they, any longer? So that's what we said in the Illegal Migration Act. If you are coming from France on a boat, you should not avail yourself of asylum protection in this country. You could have claimed asylum, so you are not going to be admitted into our asylum system. And if we cannot send you back to the country you came from, France, because they won't have you, or we cannot send you back to your source country because you say you fear refoulement there or you refusal there, persecution there, we will send you to a third country, and we had that deal with Rwanda.
Okay, but why are we? But when we are granting, when the system, and it's under the Tories as well, and under Labour now, they're going through more. They're actually granting a lot of these people asylum, and so we're told, why are we calling these people illegal migrants? They're asylum seekers. The majority of them get it in the end, and if they don't, they get it on appeal. But does that mean that they are legitimate? And frankly, we should be a bit more welcoming.
Well, they're illegal entrants first and foremost, and I see a number of commentators say they're not illegal to claim asylum. It's not illegal to claim it. They are illegal entrants. They're served with notice of illegal entry. They're liable to detention and removal, but we do allow them to claim asylum here. Yeah. The test then becomes, can we send you back to Afghanistan? Do you really fear persecution there? It's their word against ours, Julia. And then, we have to provide evidence that we think you will not.
And we often don't have that. So the default is that they eventually get granted asylum.
The majority do, Julia, and even in some of these countries, if they're refused asylum, it's very, very hard to get them back to
And
places
then
like
they're given indefinite leave to remain either way. So we end up with these people anyway.
limited or indefinite leave to remain, so they get to stay. So you've got to stop them coming. Now we do stop them coming from by legitimate means. That's why we've got border force in France checking passports, airline liaison officers all around the world stopping forged passports, getting on. We can't stop them on the French beaches, so we must focus on removals again. That's the only other way. Detain and
Although, of course, the ones we've removed to France, because one in, one out, and then we came back in again. He apparently is still here, and reports that actually more migrants who we've returned to France, the few we've got over there, was it 42? Hopefully a few more now, are all still trying to come back here because, of course, they don't get housed as nicely there as they do here. We live in a mad world. Tony Smith, thank you for joining us, being a voice of reason, former head of the UK Border Force.